get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. I'm your host, SchuZ Schumaker. For those of you tuning in America, happy 4th of July to you guys. But with that being said, I've got a very special guest. And before I introduce him, I want to make sure I point this out, that we had an interview about 5 or 6 months ago where it goes a lot more in depth on his story. And so if you guys want to check that out, I'll have that attached in the bottom of this video so you guys can check that out there. But with that being said, joining me today is a man that has a massive fight upcoming on July 19th. His record is 11-0-3. He's the WBO Super Flyweight World Champion, and that's none other than Phumelela Cafu. Phumelela, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bro.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into what you got coming now because, when you came on the show a few months ago, you talked about the fact that you're world champion. You just came off a massive upset against Tanaka, and you're looking to defend your belt for a couple of times. You said in that last episode. Now, obviously, we know that's not what you're going to be doing. You're going to be defending it, but also unifying that against Bam Rodriguez. How did this all come to be?
So I was scheduled to fight Gonzalez, but that fight didn't happen. They said pay for pro March, March. So we're planning to get Gonzalez, that fight didn't happen. So I was scheduled to do a cup on the 24th of May.
Right.
So I was like training for the 24th of May. My manager didn't tell me that they in negotiation very big team, but I remember hearing Eddie saying that they in negotiation with my team, and I think somebody actually also hit me up first. I was like, nah, I don't know anything about it. And I asked my manager, like, is the thing, are you guys like talking to Bam's team? And he was like, nah. I was like, okay. And on the side, Andrew Maloney was on my head. He was busy telling me like one of my talk to play like that. And I was also pushing for them to try and get Maloney because I believe that Andrew, not that I'm taking anything out of him, but compared to the guys that wanted to fight, for example, Ben Gonzalez, I feel like Andrew Maloney would be the easiest of the three fights. So I was like, okay, let's get Andrew Maloney and like I'd put a statement and make sure I defend my title and stuff. So we were still working on that. And one time I was here checking, my manager called me and like come to the office. And I was got there and he told me the fight between you and Ben is happening. I'm like, are you for real? He was like, yeah, the fight is happening. I was like, nah, thank you. And then he called my promoter, video called him and said, can you please tell him that the fight is happening? He was like, yeah, the fight is happening. It's on. We're just waiting for the contract, but it's a time deal. I was like, damn. I was so excited, and I can't lie. Because, I feel like, as I've been saying, I think if you listen to my past interview, which I told you, I would love them this. But I feel a lot of people, this fight doesn't make sense to them. So I feel like if I fought Gonzalez first, they go for Rodriguez, this fight will make a lot of sense. Some people think it's a mismatch, but yeah, I don't mind. I've been written off for a couple of times, so it's not something for me. And I believe in the match, I should wall.
Here, 1 second. You're cutting in and out at the very end. I'm going to go to a quick commercial break so we can figure it out real quick. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully we got this a little bit better audio, though. So, Phumelela, I want to go back into the situation. As you said, the biggest thing when we talk about the storyline for this fight is we know that you're going to be the underdog. We know a lot of people are doubting you before. But to that, I always will answer, you've been the underdog many times before in your career. You go back all the way a few years ago when you fought Jackson, underdog. You outperform there and you go have a great performance. And then your most recent fight just to become world champion. Nobody thought you were going to go out there and beat Tanaka. You go to his home in Japan and you pull off the massive upset. You've been in these shoes before. How much more confidence does that give you personally, knowing that you've been the underdog before and you've overperformed?
I'm very confident, because I always believe in myself. You know, been saying to a lot of people, with God, everything is possible. You know, so I believe in God a lot. So I believe in God, I believe in myself. I train very hard, man. So I can't like sleep on myself. I've been saying that I want to fight the best guy in the division, and fortunately for me, I get to fight the best guy in the division. So
Right.
yeah, and I'm truly grateful, and also like, thanks to Mr. Hort, taking promotion, and also like Mushroom, Edwin. So thanks to those guys for putting this fight together, and I promise like I'm gonna keep it. So
All right. Well, let's head into now over the past few months because you fought when you get back in the ring, it'll be right around 9 months since you've been out of the ring. When you talk about this training camp, you know how you've been feeling. Would you say that this is the best version of Phumelela Cafu that we've ever seen before when you step in the ring July 19th?
yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, for sure. You know, um, before before like after my last fight or before my last fight, last fight in December, and then I went to go fight in October. So sometimes being inactive doesn't really matter. What you do, what you have to do. So I've been training. I've been training since January, and I had about 3 months camp. So
Mhm.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready, and I hope to that. So, and I believe that people are going to see that I've been preparing for the fight. And
Right.
also thanks to my team. Also thanks to my team, like for believing in me, because today it would have been like, we're not ready for this fight, blah blah blah. But I said I would fight back, and I said, okay, we can make the fight happen. Now the fight is happening, and they believed in me, man, and they've been pushing me throughout the camp and making sure I'm ready for the fight. Right now, fitness wise, 100% fit. The only thing that we are focused on is make weight, then get in the ring and become the unified.
When you add in the aspect that you're going to be fighting for the WBC Super Flyweight Championship, obviously your WBO one will be on the line as well, and the Ring Magazine, three belts that you could be walking away with on the end of July 19th. What goes through your mind?
A lot of things, and I got too much excited. To be honest with you, I've never thought even what I get to fight for him. Okay, I've thought of fighting for the WBC and all, but I've never thought I'd get a chance to fight for him magazine. That's huge, man. That's really huge. I don't even know how it. I feel like I've won already, because it takes a lot to be in this type of fight, in this type of position. That's why I say Jesus is king, man. Jesus is king because without God, none would have been possible. I've been telling people I'm not the hardest guy. I'm not the like I don't work. I work hard, but there are guys who work harder than me. I'm talented, but there are who are more talented than me. But they're not in my position. Some of them never even got too close to where I'm at. So credit to God, man. Like for real, he really pulled out. He really pulled through for me. So I'm kind
I love what you said right there, man. I do want to expand on that a little bit more. When you talk about your faith, and obviously we've been following each other for quite some time now, and I know you always post about your faith. I always appreciate that a ton. And so I want to ask about that. How have you seen your relationship with Jesus kind of grow over the past, few months, next past couple years, and just see the way he's worked in your life?
It has really grown, man. It's been like a lot. I pray more, I pray more now. And I don't just pray for success and all. I also pray for the things that I have to make sure that instead of me destroying them, God help me to multiply them. You know, um, I feel like God is the only person that you could always talk to about your problem. So sometimes I go through things and He'll be the only one that I talk to. So yeah,
Right.
man, like the relationship between me and him is really growing, and that's the relationship I also want with my kids. So I'm trying to make sure I try to stay close to God.
When you talk about, your next couple of weeks, because, July 19th is coming up, we're just about 15 days out from the fight. When you talk about that aspect right there, what's your plans? I know we were just talking backstage. You're going to be coming to America now in the next couple of days, next day or so. What's your plans then? Are you pretty much wrapped up with training camp? Are you still going to do some more training work when you get out to America? What's your game plan leading up to July 19th?
Um, the only thing that I'm gonna be there for is just for the timing. I'm that training fully fit. I can't say I'm gonna add more fitness. And
Right.
the only thing we want is to make sure we can it around. And probably like maybe tomorrow I'm sparring again tomorrow. I think tomorrow might be my sparring. So, but if also maybe I could get probably like last 4 5 like it there, but we'll see. But there's nothing more to do, man. Also don't want to overcook. I believe this is a good big fight, but I also don't want to overtrain because I've been training very hard. Been
Right.
training very hard. There's been some very intense, sessions, so I also don't want to overdo it.
All right. Now, I want to go through this because obviously you won't be able to enjoy, the full fruits of the labor of what happened July 19th for the whole game for boxing fans because July 19th for boxing fans is going to be a special day. You talk about having so many great fights that day. And so I just want to say this. I want to see your prediction of some of these fights real quickly. And we're going to wrap up with an important one that involves yourself there. But let's go through the list of some of the big fights happening July 19th. And I want to see who you think will win. One of them happening, Manny Pacquiao, Mario Barrios. Who do you have winning that fight?
I got tired.
All right. Alexander
Don't get me
Usyk.
wrong. I love Manny Pacquiao, but I feel like, you know, to me, I feel like he's a bit old. And I've seen his last fight in Japan. Didn't look too good. And going up against
Yeah.
the guy Mario, so kind of difficult. But if you like, you would put Prime Many against Barrios out for many. But at this moment, I don't see many Pacquiao beating Barrios.
100% agree. I think the key point there is Manny Pacquiao has not won since 2019. That's quite a bit of a
Yeah.
long stretch without winning. I mean, obviously it can happen. He is one of the all-time greats, but not winning a fight in 2019 is a little bit wild.
And the nice thing about it is he's got nothing to prove, man. He's the greatest. He's one of the greatest. So we've
Yep.
started in the Hall of Fame already. So he's got nothing to lose or got nothing to prove.
Curious to hear your thoughts on this. If you are hypothetically in Manny Pacquiao's shoes, being in your mid 40s, being a person that's already accomplished everything, you're in the Hall of Fame, you've done everything you could ever ask for, one of the all-time greats. Would you entertain at your age, at that age per se, to come out of retirement and go fight again?
Uh, very should know. That being said, and people think I'm joking. At the age of 30, I think I will consider that at the age of 30 going forward. I
Hmm.
think the last that I failed to box is 35. I don't see myself going beyond 35
Right.
because I also like boxing is a winning sport. There's a lot of winning, especially in South Africa politics and all. So sometimes during the whole energy, some things that go through and care and all. So you also need time for yourself, so time to relax, have time for your family. For example, I've been training since January. I've missed weddings, I've missed family funeral, close friends funeral. So
Right.
yeah, and I think at the age of 30, 35, that's where I think I'll like. But also, I don't know what many Pacquiao made it come back, maybe, for example, George Foreman can make it with history program and he's looking for the same thing. So
Right.
I believe he can do it. If you believe you can, maybe you can do it. I'm not doubting. He can believe it. But for me, I don't think I would do what he's doing right
Absolutely. All right. The other fight happening, which will be going down before you step in the ring over there in the UK, undisputed heavyweight championship fight. Alexander Usyk, Daniel Dubois. Who do you have winning that one?
now. So, I
All right. The other fight happening, Sebastian Fundora, Tim Tszyu, a rematch right there. Who do you have winning that one?
think you.
All right. So you think he's gonna get his revenge then on Sebastian Fundora?
Yeah, because the thing is, if you look at the first fight, I feel like Kat played a huge role for Fandora,
Right.
played a huge role. And also, Fandora is a tough dude. This got high. It won't be easy for Tizu, but I believe Tizu can do it, man. I feel like is the much more skilled guy than Fandora. I
Right.
think he has what it takes to beat Fandora. Even though I was looking forward to seeing Fandora versus Hero, because
Right.
I think they were in that fight. I don't know why. Yeah,
Yep. Also, you have another rematch happening of a fight that's considered one of the fight of the year so far this year. Pitbull Cruz, Angel Ferreira. That's going to be going down that undercard as well. Who do you have winning that rematch?
I never really watched Boca, so I don't want to say
Okay.
who's winning.
Then there's going to be a fight happening right before you guys step out there. Dio Pacheco fighting Trevor McCumbee. Who do you have winning that one?
I have to check.
All right. And then there's a pretty big one. The last one I want to ask you about. Bam Rodriguez facing Phumelela Cafu for the Ring Magazine belt as well as the WBAC and WBL belt. Who do you have winning that fight?
I have Phumelela Cafu winning that fight.
All right. Now, I do want to ask you a little bit deeper on that question right there, Phumelela, because obviously that's involving yourself. When you talk about this, you know the work you put in. You have your own personal confidence. Why do you believe that you're going to go out there and win and shock the world on July 19th?
Because I do have what it takes to be great, Like I've been saying, nobody's unbeatable. Nobody's unbeatable. And if you look at, think I can be better. I'm the guy that can be better. Ben Rodriguez is a very good guy who like taking away from him. That's what makes the fight exciting. These are one of the fights that even though I don't feel like training, I'll wake up and go for it because I have to, even if it's cold, because I know what I'm going up against. And me beating Ben Rodriguez would take me straight into the. So this fight is really huge for me, and no team is just another fight, but there's a lot of stake for me. So I'm gonna make sure I don't fumble it.
All right. I want to just wonder, I'm curious about this aspect. When you talk about this performance, let's say you go out there and you do win this fight as you just talked about, what would possibly be next for yourself? I know you don't want to look past Bam Rodriguez or anything like that, but is there something that you want to pursue a rematch with him to have another fight with Bam Rodriguez? Would you ever consider moving up to 118? Like when you become a guy that's, that guy now at the super flyweight division, what would you even want to do after that?
Uh, when I become that guy, I would obviously if he wants a rematch, I would like to give it to. Um, if the rematch doesn't happen, it's either a bad rematch or Puma Martinez. But if those two fights are not happening, then I'm moving up to 118.
Okay.
I'm trying to become to world champion. So that would be also, I mean, I'd love to fight him, Gonzalez. If he still isn't retired, I would love to fight him. I would love to fight him. Probably like Gonzalez. The only thing exciting about this guy is that I grew up watching them, and I remember someone asked me, "Would you fight this guy?" Like, nah, no, they too much. So now seeing myself that I'm also in the mix, man. I just want to like test myself out against some guys. And
hmm
one time I retire, when people when they look at my resume, they be like, "Oh, this dude really fought the guys." You know. So going up against Gonzalez, Estrada, even though Estrada got knocked out by Rodriguez, I still believe you still have what it takes. So those are the guys that I'd love to fight. So
All right. I love that answer.
if
Well, Phumelela, I have one final question for you, and it's very similar to the question I was like wrapping up. I always ask about you guys' legacy, but since you already answered that just a few months ago, I want to ask about this now. When July 19th comes to a conclusion, whatever ends up happening in that ring, what is the legacy? What do you want to be remembered for how you performed on July 19th?
Yeah, and I want to be remembered as a guy when they engage his own, guy that fought his heart out, a guy that really entertained the fans. And if I end up losing, I want to be a guy that gave Ben Rodriguez the top fight of his career.
Mm, I love that answer. Well, Phumelela, I appreciate you taking time to come on in, man. It's been a blessing and honor having you back on, and I cannot wait to see what God's got in store for you on July 19th.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me, man.
Of course, you're always welcome on, man. You as well. Can't wait to see what God's got in store for you, man. God bless.
Okay, thanks. God bless you too.
All right, see you, man.
Cheers.
I appreciate you guys all for tuning in today's show. I'll have that clipped up, edited out, and then posted on my YouTube channel very shortly for you guys to go check that out at another time. With that being said, though, I'm going to go on a very short commercial break, and then I'll head on out and we'll get to the rest of the boxing topics for today's show. I'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes. God bless you guys. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the SchuZ Show. As I said in the beginning, if you are my American guest tuning in today's show, happy 4th of July. I hope you guys are having an incredible Friday, an incredible 4th of July for those of you celebrating it. And it's going to have some fun today and be safe as well. With that being said, though, we've got some topics to get into today. And I just want to put this out there real quickly. The first thing we'll be getting into is the Jack Catterall versus Harlem Eubank card preview. I'll be addressing that. Let me know who you guys think is going to be winning that fight in the chat. But to wrap up today's show, I'll be concluding the show with, now that we're midway through the year, I'll be giving you guys my mid-year boxing awards. So that will include the fight of the year, box of the year, the worst fight of the year, the best card of the year, upset of the year, KO of the year, as well as prospect of the year. If you guys have any opinions and I want to know who you guys think are the winners of those different awards, put that in the chat. I want to see who you guys think is the best fighter, the fight of the year, all the different awards. Let me know, and I'll be addressing that as we go on to the ending of the show today. But as I said, let's hop right into start off today's portion of boxing topics with a fight preview of what's going to be going down in the UK tomorrow. The main event, Jack Catterall, Harlem Eubank, a welterweight clash. This is between Jack Catterall, who is now 30-2 with 13 KOs. He'll be making his welterweight debut against Harlem Eubank, who's 21-0. This will be going down in Manchester's AO Arena. Now, for Catterall, we know he had his very controversial loss to Josh Taylor in 2022. That was a massive point for him, but he then built himself back up, lost to Arnold Barboza last year or early this year. I forget exactly when it happened, but that's what happened there. Now he's looking to reset his career at 147, so he's going to be making his debut here. Whereas for Harlem Eubank, he's going to be returning back to the ring. He's had a solid resume where he's now undefeated at this point in his career. Who do I see having this fight? I think Catterall is going to come away with it. Jack Catterall has been a guy that I feel like is a good fighter, but I do feel like he just lacks being a world champion pedigree. He is one of those guys that you'll see floating around that has a good career. Maybe he gets himself lucky, has a good performance, and becomes world champion one night. But I don't see him being that type of guy. But like I said, he still is a very good boxer. I believe that setting himself into a position where he's going to be fighting Harlem Eubank, it should be a good win for himself. I think his tactics, his competitive fight, it's going to be a competitive fight. But I do feel like Jack will end up edging out Harlem Eubank down the stretch of the fight. Heading over to the co-main event, Joe Cordina will be making his return against Jarrett Gonzalez in a co-main event feature. The former IBF super featherweight champion Joe Cordina, who is 17-1 with 9 KOs, he'll be returning to face the Mexican, who is 17-1 with 13 KOs. Here's what's interesting about this one. There has been a lot of situations, most recently coming just a couple weeks ago against Galal Yafai, where we've had a Mexican that's come over to the UK and pulled off massive upsets. Could this once again happen? I'm going to go with Cordina. I feel like he has a chance of pulling off this win here. I feel like he should win this fight here. However, we've seen it too many times now where the Mexican fighter comes into the UK and pulls off the upset. It's interesting that Eddie Hearn and these people and all the people in the UK keep ordering these fights, but it will make for a very interesting situation here. Cordina is making his comeback after his 8th round TKO loss to Anthony Kakasi in 2024. He's also looking to rebuild himself up for a title shot at 135 now. Whereas for those of you that are not familiar with who Jarrett Gonzalez is, he's a very heavy-handed, untested Mexican prospect with a high KO ratio, but he has only fought in Latin America. So he has not had a lot of international experience here. He will get that now. He is also very aggressive, powerful, and he's very defensively vulnerable as a fighter. But as I said, I believe that Cordina will come out with the mid to the late stoppage or decision win here. I feel like he's going to be able to break down Jarrett Gonzalez throughout the remainder of this fight. I feel like it will be a competitive fight. With that being said, though, I do feel like Joe Cordina will come out and emerge as victor. As for other fights going down this card, we have Akeem Fiaz. He's fighting Alex Murphy. Pat Brown will be fighting Lewis Oakford. Leo Atang versus Jerry Simage. And Sky Nicholson makes her return against Carla Camila Campos Gonzalez as well. With that being said, though, let's hop into my boxing awards so far this year. Let's head right into it now. Mid-year boxing awards. Start off with fight of the year. This is between 3 different fights, in my opinion. I think these 3 fights separate themselves from the pack, but if I had to choose my fight of the year, it has to be Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. I feel like that is this year's fight of the year. I feel like it's going to go down as one of the best fights this decade. It is just it was a phenomenal fight. Also, right in the mix there, Taraji Akui, that fight was incredible, as well as Pitbull Fierro. That fight was phenomenal as well. So those are my top 3 fights of the year so far. A lot of the great fights. Just coming to the top of my mind. I feel like Tank Roach was a good fight overall. I feel like there were lots of other solid fights this year, but those 3 do certainly separate themselves. Also, have to throw out the Inoue fighting Ramon Cardenas. That fight was incredible as well. Those fights were sensational. But my fight of the year, Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. Boxer of the year, Dimitri Bivol. Now, this likely will be altering when I get out the final year awards because, as we just learned that Dimitri Bivol will not be fighting again this year. Therefore, we'll see if he keeps that award. But the fact that he went in there, has the best win this year in terms of upsetting, or not necessarily upsetting, but beating Artur Beterbiev to become undisputed champion of the world at light heavyweight. That, to me, makes him Boxer of the year so far. The worst fight of the year, Skylar Lacey, Brandon Moore. Co-main event to Claressa Shields fight early this year. It ends up resolving in a fact where there was multiple point deductions on both sides, and then we go to the final grand finale here, where Skylar Lacey flips Brandon Moore over the outside of the ring. They fall on top of the table, and then Brandon Moore makes it back to the ring just on time to get the win. Absolutely just chaotic fight situation. I actually posted on my Twitter the X account just a little bit ago. That was absolutely insane. That was a bizarre fight. By far, in my opinion, the worst fight of the year. Best card of the year. None other than The Last Crescendo. This fight card was sensational. I think it's going to go down as one of the better fight cards we have seen. When you talk about the fact of Dimitri Bivol Beterbiev, sensational fight. That was the main event. Bacoli, Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker has the massive KO Bacoli there. Then Shakur Padley. Shakur gets a KO. Absolutely beautiful performance there. Carlos Adames, Hamza Shiraz. Adames was robbed in that fight. However, still a phenomenal fight there. Then Virgil Ortiz, Madrimov. Absolutely great fight there too. Caballel, Zhang. This was the coming out moment for Caballel. It has solidified himself as one of the top heavyweights in the world. How could you not like that fight? And then another potential fight of the year candidate, you have Buatsi Callum Smith kicking off the fight card. There's not really many other fight cards going to be able to compete with that. The fight card I'm going to talk about momentarily looks like it could compete with that going down November, but still, absolutely phenomenal fight there. KO of the year, Brian Norman Jr., Jin Sasaki. Absolutely beautiful. I do feel like you can consider Bobby Wardley's come behind an upset win against Justice Huni as well. But for me, Brian Norman Jr., Jin Sasaki. Upset of the year, Armando Resendez versus Caleb Plant. Rolly Romero and Ryan Garcia have a chance in the debate there. But listen, Resendez was a massive underdog in that fight. He had no shot. He has no experience. He's never been in this top tier. He was just thrown in there to come fight, moving up weight classes, all these different situations. And he pulls off the massive upset. So for me, that is upset of the year. Prospect of the year is a two-way split for me. If I were to give a slight edge, I would give it to Abdullah Mason. But Abdullah Mason, as well as here, once I looks my camera kicked out, I'll be right back, folks. All right, everybody, welcome back to the SchuZ Show. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but it appears my computer gets shut down. So let's get right back to where we left off. As I was saying, upset of the year this year in boxing. I feel like there's not a bigger upset this year than Armando Resendez over Caleb Plant. Listen, I know a lot of people will say Rolly Romero over Ryan Garcia, but let's look at the facts. Rolly Romero's been successful. He's had big fights before. He's been on big stages before. We know who Rolly Romero is. He's accomplished. Armando Resendez, unless you really, really know boxing, you didn't know who Armando Resendez was. He was cherry picked to go out there and be a good tune-up fight for Caleb Plant to get him ready for Charlo. Armando Resendez was moving up weight classes. He's never been on any big stage before in his career like this. And he goes out there and shocks the world. That's why, in my opinion, he is upset of the year. When we go over to prospect of the year, I'm going to give it to Abdullah Mason. Listen, this could be neck and neck between Abdullah Mason and Mosey Toma. But if I were to give you guys my take on who I believe it is Abdullah Mason. The only reason for this is that neither one has fought massive fights, but Abdullah Mason getting to host a main event already when it stepped up and had a masterful performance in that fight, and now has already earned himself a shot at a world championship at his age, I'm going to give the slight edge to Abdullah Mason. But listen, Itoma, Abdullah Mason, neck and neck as the best prospects in boxing. Both guys are phenomenal, and that could easily shift by the end of this year. That's what I've got for you guys. To recap really quickly, my mid-year boxing awards for 2025. Fight of the year, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. Boxer of the year, Dimitri Bivol. Worst fight of the year, Skylar Lacey versus Brandon Moore. The best card of the year, the last crescendo, Dimitri Bivol, Beterbiev, as well as Bakoli, Joseph Parker, Shakur Stevenson, Josh Padley, Adamas Shiraz, Ortiz Madrimov, Caballero Jaylee Zhang, Buatsi Calm Smith. KO of the year, Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki. Upset of the year, Armando Resendez over Caleb Plant. And the prospect of the year, Moses Itoma and Abdullah Mason neck and neck tied. If I had to give it to somebody, it would be Abdullah Mason. Let's head over, though. Speaking on Abdullah Mason, it has now been announced that both he and Sam Noakes will meet for the vacant WBO lightweight title in November in Saudi Arabia on the Benavidez Anthony Yarde and Brian Norman Devin Haney re-IC's undercard. Turkey Ashik has confirmed. This is massive fight. In terms of the ring rankings, Noakes is number 9, while Mason is number 10. A beautiful fight right here being made between two great guys that have a chance to become rising stars and world champions. This is going to be a perfect fight to make. I'm glad they got the deal done. Beautiful matchmaking right there. Now, there is one other thing that's disappointing news. Archer Beterbiev, Dimitri Bivol trilogy has been delayed. The third fight between the light heavyweight greats, Dimitri Bivol and Archer Beterbiev, has reportedly been pushed back from the last quarter of 2025 to early 2026. All right. I want to give my thoughts on this because it's very interesting. At this point in time, a guy that's in, pretty much the lock for Hall of Fame already, Dimitri Bivol, he's in his prime right now. He's taking an entire year out of boxing. That right there is concerning in my opinion. I don't want to see guys that are as good, as talented as Dimitri Bivol, guys pretty much already locked in a Hall of Fame spot when he's only in his mid-30s. To have somebody of that potential and caliber having to sit out an entire year just because of contract negotiations is frustrating. And on the other side of things, Artur Beterbiev, this is a man who will be 41 years old when he gets back in that ring. That's not ideal either. So now this trilogy becomes a lot more interesting. Why is this the situation? Why could it not have been made in 2025? And when you add in another aspect to this, you have to realize Bivol had to vacate at least one belt. Might even end up being 2 belts now with the whole Michael Eifert situation. And now you're placed in a situation in a weird place where this fight could only be for 2 of the belts. It won't even be for undisputed anymore. And Bivol could have defended one of those belts if he were so chosen to. There's no reason he could not have fought Benavidez or Michael Eifert. Now, the Benavidez one, obviously that's more sets it up for Benavidez to fight the winner of the trilogy, which I do like that. But still, he could have went out and fought Michael Eifert. So this entire situation is concerning, it's frustrating, and ideally, this is not the place we would have been in. This fight should have happened in the fourth quarter of 2025, got the trilogy over with. Both guys deserve it, but got it over with, and then we could have moved on to the Benavidez thing. The fact that this is now carrying over into 2026 is not ideal and is frustrating. That's not what we wanted to see have happen. I would love to know why this is the situation it's happening in, but we can't go back in time. We can only move forward. So with that being said, that's my thoughts on that situation. I appreciate you guys all for tuning in to today's show. Though, as I said, happy 4th of July to everybody tuning in America. For those of you that are tuning in outside of America, have an incredible weekend. May God bless you guys all. Stay safe. I will see you guys back on the show on Monday. May God bless you guys all. I'll see you guys on Monday. SchuZ out. God bless you guys.